Welcome to the Midlife Fulfilled Podcast. Are you over 40 and ready to truly thrive? Well, on this podcast, we go deep on ways to thrive across the 5 pillars of midlife: health, fitness, career, relationships, and legacy. I'm Bernie Borges, midlife advocate, life coach, and your host. Subscribe now and get ready to thrive. Allan, welcome to part 2 of our health and fitness motivation online workshop on the Midlife Fulfilled podcast.
Yeah, this has been really exciting. I'm having a lot of fun, and I hope you're getting some value out of this as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I have been as you know, health and fitness practitioner for many decades, but this program that we're reviewing just provides so much practical application, so much, it just gives people such great motivation to really do it and get results and results that last. So let's begin, before we get into part 2, let's begin with just a quick recap of part 1. And again, I want to remind the listener, you heard this in the introduction, if you have an opportunity to watch this on video, we are scrolling through the workbook on video. So Allan, I am ready when you are.
Excellent. So yeah, we did set this up as a workbook where you're going to go from front to back and slowly build out this. So if you didn't do the first part, it's worth going and doing that first. But if you want to go on, you'll be able to go through the motivation just based on what we're going to talk about in this short recap. So go ahead and scroll down, Bernie, as we go through this book. Basically, our first part of the book, we're talking about commitment. And commitment is built out of 2 things. It's your why and it's your vision. So what we did in part 1 was we went through the why, and we went through and said, okay, what are the things that are happening in our life that we don't like, that are not good for us with regards to our health, our fitness? And then we broke it down and said, well, what about energy? What's our energy level like? Do we have illnesses? Do we have pain? Are we lacking confidence and self-respect? Those types of things. And so we kind of jotted those ideas down. What are some things that are really bothering us right now with regards to our health and fitness? And we're not just talking about, oh, well, there's 25 pounds here, or there's this, or there's that. This is trying to get down to the emotion of the matter. So this is like, what's affecting your life? You know, not just, okay, I'm a little overweight, a little pudgy, you know, I don't like this curve, I don't like that curve. This is more getting into the things that are deeper: relationships, pain, self-respect, confidence, those types of things. Okay, go ahead and scroll down a little bit more, Bernie. And then as we got into it, what we wanted to do was kind of future pace that and say, okay, if I do nothing, what's going to happen? And so many times you can kind of look at relatives and some of the lifestyles that they led and where that led them. So maybe an uncle had diabetes and you've just been diagnosed with prediabetes. Well, some of the health issues that happened for your uncle might be down the line for you. Example for me, my mother has COPD. Now, she has COPD because she smoked most of her life. I don't smoke, so I know that's not something I need to future pace, but it's kind of that idea of looking at what's going on with your predecessors and saying, if I follow the same aging curve, is that the life? Is that what I want? And then again, as you take these through those things like pain and illness and relationships and everything else, this is an opportunity for you to get that kind of narrowed down a little bit more and deeper and into the future. So now we're going to sit down and we want to really dig. And I brought up this root cause process called the 5 whys. We use it in corporate all the time because we'll sit there and look at a problem, and to solve a real problem, you got to know the real cause. So you don't want to just address symptoms, you want to address the cause in a business. So we drill down by asking why. And so the example I gave was I wanted to do the Tough Mudder with my daughter. Okay, that would be the why I was training, but why? I was like, well, I wanted to do this with her. I was tired of being a spectator. I wanted to be a participant. Well, why? Because it was important to me to build a better relationship with my daughter. Why? And it comes down to self-respect and her respect. That was really important to me, and it still is. So my why is about my self-respect, my daughter's respect, and now that my family's gotten a lot larger since then, my wife's respect, my other children's respect, I want to be there for them. And so as you dig deeper, this will get much more emotional, much more personal. This is your document. So please be open and honest with yourself as you dig deeper, because this is your opportunity to really understand why this is important to you.
And Allan, I want to add that there might be some people that struggle with being open and honest with themselves, that they may not be able to do this digging on their own. And in that case, I would encourage, in that scenario, I would encourage you to do this with a buddy, right? Whoever that may be, a partner, a close friend, whoever it may be, who can actually keep asking the why and help you dig deep to find it. Because maybe some people might struggle with that self-honesty.
If you can't be your own 8-year-old, then yeah. All right. So let's keep going. So after you get your why sorted out, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go into the core why. So you go ahead and draft it out. And this is really where you're going to put the meat of this together. You're going to have it all written out. And as Bernie brought up last time, it's really, really important to write these things out, because we can go back to them. They're a tool for us in the future. And in many cases, these will be things that you'll want to repeat to yourself on a regular basis. So you know, okay, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I have to, not do this. And so go ahead and draft out your why. And then we'll move on to the next section where we're going to talk about your vision. So vision is basically where you see yourself today and in the future, now and the future. And we all have these physical needs and wants. And I'm not talking about from a physiological perspective. I'm talking about things we need to be able to do. Okay. I need to be able to carry a 5-gallon jug from the front of the house to the back of the house 10 times because my wife ordered 10 jugs of water. I have to take a jug upstairs. I have to carry luggage upstairs. That's a part of my normal work day. I am the porter when our staff isn't there. So as you kind of look at what you need to do now and then what you want to do, I want to be able to go anywhere on this island that I want to go without use of an automobile. So the furthest one point to the other point is 12 miles. I can easily travel 12 miles by myself on my feet without the use of a motor vehicle. So what do you want to be able to do? Okay. And then in the future, thinking about the lifestyle that you want to have, what do you need to be able to do? And I made the joke, the casual joke, I need to be able to wipe my own butt when I'm 105. That's a need for me. It's not a want, but that's where I'm going. Now, what do I want? I want to be able to do the things I love for as long as I possibly can. I want to be able to roll around with my grandkids and do the things they do. We had, when I was a kid, I think the craziest thing there was a marathon. And then by the time my daughter was an adult, the craziest thing was these Tough Mudders. I don't know what my grandkids are going to be doing, but I kind of want to be the crazy grandfather that's doing it with them. Who is this 80-year-old man out here?
I can just picture you now, Allan, seeing you on television on America's the ninja competition, for over 50-year-olds.
I'll do my damnedest. I don't know what it'll be, but I'll do what I can do. Okay. I'm not, no bars. I don't know. I'll try. But that's the whole point. As you look at your future, you're entitled to joy. You're entitled to love. You're entitled to relationships. You're entitled to health. And so this is where you're giving yourself this idea of who you're going to be, and you start drafting that out. Okay, so Bernie, you can skip forward the second page because that's my example that you can go in there as you're going through this if you want to have some ideas, but you keep going. So then basically this is where you're now going to take that vision and your previous why, and you're going to put them together to basically draft out a commitment statement. And so a commitment statement is similar like when you did vows for getting married. You made a statement of love and affection, and you had feeling behind it. You had emotion behind it. That's the why. And then you had a vision of what your life together was going to be like. This is a very similar type of thing. You're committing to yourself and your future. And so as you kind of put this statement together, it should be one of the most meaningful things you've ever done for yourself. And when you say it out loud, It should actually resonate with you that this is my being. This is why I'm here, and this is what I must do. And so
And
that's how deep this should
this
go.
is what you put on your refrigerator, on your
Everywhere. Yeah.
mirror, on your PC monitor, like anywhere and everywhere you want to be reminded.
And you renew your vows as often as you need to. All right. So let's skip forward. Okay. So anything you want to do as an idea, a future, an outcome that I want, I've got to have a plan. If I don't have a plan, it's not necessarily going to happen. So how do I build a plan to make this happen? Okay. So the first thing is to understand what's the most reasonable first step. Okay, what am I going to do first? What is the first step? So if I know, okay, most of the things I just told you about, well, I've got to be healthy if I'm going to live to 105 for sure. So I need to make sure I'm eating well. And if I'm going to be doing the things I'm talking about doing, I'm going to need strength. I'm going to need mobility. I'm going to need stamina. Okay. And so those are other things, maybe balance, but those are things I know I'm going to need. So the first step is a step towards either obtaining those things or retaining those things and or building those things. So based on where you are, your first step is, okay, I need to eat better. So if I just say I'm going to eat better, well, later I'm going to have to define what that means, but there may be some prerequisites to doing these things. So the next step is to go through and say, okay, if I'm going to eat better, what are some prerequisites to eating better? And a few that I can just think of off the top of my head is to truly define what that means. But another one would be clean out my pantry. Mm-hmm. If I've got bad food in my pantry, I could clean that out of my pantry. It could be checking out to see when the next farmer's market's going to be so I can go do a shopping. It could be looking for recipes to come up with meal planning and batch cooking for Sunday. So there's a lot of little prerequisites that I could do. Is I need to do the research to know when and where the farmer's market opens. I need to clean out my pantry so I have room for good food. All those different things could be prerequisites. So figuring out what your prerequisite is. One prerequisite that you should not skip is anytime you're going to get into an exercise program or make significant changes to the way you eat, you should consult your physician. So that's one that you definitely should be writing in this box. You need to talk to your physician so they know what you're doing. And if you're on medications or things like that, they can be ready to adjust those. And they can let you know, yes, you're clear to do strength training or what other things you might want to change. So yes, that's a prerequisite.
Yeah, okay. Great point.
Go ahead, Bernie. Okay, so now we're going to take that first step and we're going to ask a question. Can this first step be broken into micro steps? So I said, I'm going to eat healthy. Well, am I going to go from today eating crap to tomorrow eating healthy? And for most people, the answer to that is no. I need to take some steps towards making that happen. And so if there's some steps I need to break into micro steps, then I need to think about it here. So an example for nutrition, I say eat healthy. Well, okay, that might mean more servings of vegetables than I'm currently eating. And if ketchup's the only vegetable you eat right now, one more vegetable might just be enough. Okay. Micro steps. Okay. But thinking in terms of, I need to break this down to a point where it's easy. It's visible. It's simple. And so I say, I'm going to eat 4 servings of vegetables per day. Now, if I'm not eating any, that might be too many. But again, you're going to break this into micro steps. Okay. I'm going to eliminate processed foods by essentially saying I'm going to cut it to 20%, 80%. So 20% of my diet has to come from vegetables and meat. And then I'll step it into 30% and 40%. So eventually I get to a point where processed foods make up such a small percentage of what I eat, they're almost not something to count. So there's maybe some things.
Well, Allan, that I said on part 1 is that micro steps can really add up over time. And so you'll feel really good when you look backward at how those micro steps have really begun to show improvement on your plan. So you can be
Yeah.
excited about this, breaking it down into micro steps.
Yes. And so now you've kind of got some information so you can make the next big step. And this is goal setting. And what I've done here with this goal setting is I've taken the phraseology or the acronym SMART, which we tend to use in business. It's called SMART goal: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. You probably have some practice doing those things. But even if you don't, they're not that hard. But I added an A to the front of it because I think most of us write goals based on an outcome. I want to wear my 34-inch jeans again. That's an outcome. You can't make your waist just get smaller. You've got to do things that will make that happen. So the actions that you can do, the 4 servings of vegetables. I believe if I eat 4 servings of vegetables a day, I'll begin to lose weight. If I begin to lose weight, then I may be able to fit in my 34-inch jeans. So it's an action. So the action is eat more vegetables, eat 4 servings per day. Specific. I was specific about it being 4 servings, not more. It's specific, 4 servings per day. It's measurable. End of day, 4 or not. It's achievable. I mean, if I know, okay, it's pretty simple. If I have at least 1 serving of vegetables with all of my meals, I have 3 meals, I'm almost there. So maybe I add an extra serving at dinner. So I have vegetables with breakfast, vegetables with lunch, and then I have 2 servings of vegetables as a part of my dinner. Or maybe one of my snacks is vegetables. Okay. Then is it relevant? Well, okay, I want to be healthy for a longer period of time. I believe losing weight is a great way for me to start that process. Also, eating healthier is a great way to start that process. So yes, eating more vegetables is going to help me be healthier for the long term. And then the last one is time bound. So what you don't want to say is I'm going to eat 45,000 pounds of carrots this year, and I'm going to eat, so when you start talking about a year away, there's a lot of things that are happening there. So with the fact that we broke these down into micro steps, your time bound is going to be relatively short. It could be a day. It could be a week. It could be a month. I really wouldn't go much longer than a month, but you can break these down, particularly if you've broken the goals down far enough to make them attainable in a short period of time. So if I say 4 servings per day, my time bound is a day. I was successful today or I was not, period. And so a time bound is going to also help keep you honest. So if you sat there and said, I'm going to walk 5,000 steps per day, but then you realize, okay, wait, Wednesday, I've got that really hard day, and Thursday, I'm going to be traveling. Those are going to be hard days for me to get the 5,000 in. So maybe I say I'm going to get 35,000. I'm going to get 35,000 steps in this week. That might actually be an easier goal for you because it's the 7 days. It can be spread a little bit. So the days you're working more and you're not available to walk as much, it's okay, get what you can, and the other days you can make up the difference. But what you don't want to do is you go Monday and not really do much, Tuesday or just average, then down. Now you're killing yourself over the weekend to try to make this happen. So when you set a time bound, it does set a deadline on you. And so you're going to definitely, if you know your Wednesday and Thursday are going to be really low days, you're going to want to step up Monday. You're going to step up a little Tuesday, a little bit Wednesday. And you should feel confident when you get to Wednesday and Thursday that you're still on track so that through the weekend you can make your miles. Okay, if that's what you set as a goal. So the next stage of this is now for us to gauge our confidence in what we've done. And so from a scale of 1 to 7, how confident are you can complete this task this week or this day? If it's not a 7, I'd strongly encourage you to take a step back and try to make this a little bit easier. Either scale it down a bit or break it down a little bit so that it is something where you just say, okay, initially on, this is easy. So early on in this process, make it super silly easy. Make it sevens, make it sevens. Take those wins, because those wins will lead you to a better outcome. And then later on, when you get really into this and you've built some habits, then that's when you want to start doing the stretch goals. And then that's when, yes, if your confidence level is a 5, you're outside your comfort zone and you're making real change. So at the beginning, you want your confidence level to be 7, 6 maybe, but 7. And then later on, you can work on stretch goals.
Yeah, achieving goals is very, very motivating to keep going and adding more goals. And to your point, adding stretch goals. So love that.
Okay, so we'll go on. All right. So
All right,
now
here we
we're
are,
in
part two.
All right. Okay. So right now we're going to talk about motivation. And motivation is one of my favorite topics because most people get motivation 100% wrong. So what they do is they say, okay, I'm going to start on Monday. Now, Bernie and I are recording this on Friday, so that would make tons of sense. It's like, hey, Bernie, let's get started on Monday, okay? And he'd be like, all right, I'm with you. And then we would just blow the whole weekend away without a care. And then we get started on Monday. Okay, but when people say that, people will say, I'll start on Monday, okay? And we hope and pray that our motivation will show up on Monday on command. And a lot of times it doesn't. Sometimes it does. But even when it does, something happens. We get 2-3 weeks into this thing, and then it goes away. Like, I was doing so good. And then I had a bad Friday, and my bad Friday became a bad Saturday, which then became a whole bad weekend, which then became I didn't start back on Monday, so a whole bad week, maybe a whole month. And so motivation is not this magic power that just shows up. It's not the fairy godmother that we're all looking for out there. Motivation comes from doing. Okay. And I know that sounds odd because you're like, well, if I'm not motivated to do, then how do I do? Well, that's what that other stuff was we worked on last time. Was we're working on why you're doing this and what it looks like and those types of things, fit for task. All those concepts now I want you to bring to bear. You got to do a little something, okay? Now, when we look at motivation, I want you to think in terms of there's 2 types of basic motivation, okay? There's extrinsic, which is outside of you, and there's intrinsic, which is inside of you. Extrinsic tends to be identified as accountability. So you can just think of, okay, outside of me, I'm looking for accountability. And then inside, we're working on self-efficacy. Okay, accountability is actually kind of easy, but it only works while we're looking outside for people to do this. Self-efficacy is harder, but it's better and it's more permanent. Okay, so we're going to start working through these one at a time, and I'll talk you through them. So there's 2 layers within each of these, within accountability and self-efficacy. One of these layers is what I call the leader layer. Okay, so the leader layer is the head. So it's the boss, sort of. And so if you're looking for accountability for what you're going to do for your health and fitness, you can hire a coach. So you hire a coach or a personal trainer or a nutritionist or somebody like that that's going to guide and hold you accountable. They're going to say, okay, you're telling me you're going to do this exercise, or you show up at the gym and they're like, here's your workout, and they're watching you do it and are counting your reps. They're holding you accountable to do the work. If it's a nutritionist, they say, here's your meal plan. Here's your recordings, write all your stuff down in your little journal here, and we'll review it on your next call. Okay. So that's a coach. It's a leader, and they're holding you accountable. Actually, very, very easy to do. You can pick up the phone right now and call a coach and hire the coach and let them know that you want them to hold you accountable, and boom, you have accountability built in right there. Okay. We're going to talk about how to do that right in a couple minutes. Okay. On the social level, this is where we go out and we find groups and peers. Now, a lot of people think peer pressure is a bad thing. Well, it's only a bad thing if you've picked bad peers.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go out and we pick good peers, people who want what we want, or people who will hold us accountable, your wife, your friend, remember Bernie was saying, find a friend and talk through your why. Okay, work through this workbook together. You know, each of you doing your own, but you know, someone there is like, okay, today we're going to sit down and work this section again, and then we're going to share our results, and then they're going to hold you accountable. So very easy. You join the group. This could be a Facebook group. I have a Facebook group. You could go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/group, and that'll take you to my Facebook group. And so there's people there you can communicate with, and they'll help hold you accountable. I'm there. Bernie has his LinkedIn. So it's basically Midlife Fulfilled Podcast. You just search that on LinkedIn, and there are people there conversing with him, and you could be out there saying, I need accountability, and someone will step up and probably be there to help you. But there's also things like it could be a running group, a hiking group. It could be a spin class, a water aerobics class, okay, a tennis club. All these different people are out there doing these activities that you might enjoy that would give you the opportunity to do it. And then okay, Tuesday night is run club night. So I'm going to show up on Tuesday for run club, and it gets exciting and fun. You know they're there. And if you're not there, you're going to get texts. Hey, are you okay? Where are you? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's accountability. You don't want to let them down, so you show up. So accountability is relatively easy. You hire the coach to have the leader version. To have the social version, you join the group, or you find some peers that are there to help you out. A walking buddy, a workout buddy, anything like that. Okay. Now, intrinsic self-efficacy is harder, but as I said, it's much more valuable. It's much more resilient, and it's going to last you a lot longer. So at the leader level, we call that self-management. Okay, so self-management is where, like the CEO of a company, you're the CEO of your body. And that's where you sit there and make some rules, and you set policies and procedures. They're going to make things work better. So an example would be this. Okay, so I wanted to work out at my lunch hour. I realized, okay, the gym near my office from 2 to 3, there was almost no one in there. Few students and some older retired people. But I could get to everything I needed really quickly, get a very efficient and good workout done in a short amount of time, within an hour, done and showered, if no one was in there. So 2 to 3 was the most appropriate time for me to do the work. Now, I lived an hour away from the office, so I had to make sure I had my stuff packed up before I left in the morning for the office. I don't know what it was, mental block. I can't define it, but for one reason or another, I would arrive, and one day I would open up my gym bag, I'm in the bathroom, getting ready to get dressed, and I'd be missing a t-shirt or my shorts. And then one day I was missing one shoe. I don't even know how that happened, but I realized at that point I was self-sabotaging at some level that I did not understand, that I could not just stop without putting some process in place to guarantee that didn't happen. So what I did was I printed a list of everything that needed to be in my bag. I laminated it, and I put it in the bag. And the mission from management was, when you're brushing your teeth, getting ready for bed, you sit down and pull that list out, and you pack each and every one of those items in order in the bag, put the laminated thing in the bag, zip it up, take it to the door, and leave it by the door so you would have to trip over it to get out of this place in the morning when you go to get in your truck. Mm-hmm. Okay, guess what I never did again? Mm-hmm. I never got to work without my bag fully packed, ready to go. I had eliminated all the excuses, and I started being much more consistent at getting my workouts done. So that's self-management. So things like setting your alarm a little earlier, things like going to bed a little earlier, things that you do like to trick yourself to have more hydration. So you've heard the jug, like write down 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. how much water you want to have drunk that day, or just even having the cup of water filled up in the morning and on your desk. So all day while you're sitting there, you're sipping on this water. There's all these little, I'm not going to call them tricks, but they're tactics and strategies that can help you be more effective. And so a good self-manager will implement the right ones of these that help you be more successful, more consistent, and get better results. It doesn't happen overnight, but it's a function of, if I fail, then I do this. And so we're going to talk a little bit later about the details of some things you can consider, how you do that, and how that all works as a process. Okay. I call it slip to success. Okay. Now the final quadrant of this, the bottom, the social aspect of intrinsic or social self-efficacy, this is where the magic happens, because this is where your values and your habits align with your vision. And so at this point, you're doing these things because that's who you are. You identify as that person. Okay. Bernie, very much, you could just feel it when you're talking to him. He very much defines himself as a healthy and fit man. And I don't have to say his age, but I would say his age doesn't matter. He is going to be healthy and fit for the rest of his life. He made that decision when he was 24, and he's going to live with it because that's who he is for the rest of his life. Mm-hmm. No one has to tell Bernie to go work out. Bernie just does it. Okay. That's identity. So a way you can think about this is maybe you haven't done anything. You're not really out and about. So you decide, I'm going to do a walking program. So you get out and say, I'll walk for 15 minutes. And then you add a little bit. You find yourself, okay, now I'm walking for 30 minutes a day and I feel pretty good. So you're like, okay, I'm going to add a little jog. See that stop sign? I'm going to jog to that stop sign. You jog to the stop sign, and then you do a little walking, maybe doing a jog. And so over time, now you're doing the jogs, you're doing the walks, maybe adding a little bit more jogs than walks. And at this point, you decide, hey, it might be cool if I signed up for a 5K. I think I could do a 5K. You sign up for the 5K. You do it, maybe with a friend or something else, but you do it and you love it. You're like, this was so much fun. All the people, excitement, the ending, and all of it. I just loved every bit of it. And then you decide you're going to go start buy the stuff. I'm going to get the water bottle and I'm going to do this. And now you're a runner. You don't even think about it. I'm a runner. You identify as a runner. And what do runners do? They run. And so when you get up in the morning and your alarm goes off and it's time, you lace up your shoes and you run. And you don't even think about not doing it. In fact, if you talk to someone who really considers himself a runner, has been doing it for a while, and they truly identify as a runner, if they injure themselves and cannot run, it really messes with them.
Oh, I can relate to that. I'm not a runner, but in terms of my routine, my fitness routine, absolutely. I don't think about it. 5 a.m., the alarm goes off, and I just go work out. I don't think about it. It just happens. And to your point, if for some reason I can't, it kills me.
Yes.
It kills me.
Right. And so that's what we're talking about here. This is a point where now we're not caught. I mean, it's motivation. It is true, deep motivation, but it doesn't even feel like you have to have something. It's like you already have it. It's you. Now, the truth of this is, and I'll talk about this in a little bit more detail too later, is it's really good to have feet in all of these squares. Times when it's important to have a coach. It's time you should have peers and groups that you're a part of that relate to health and fitness to keep you there. You should constantly be looking at self-management and how you can make this better and how you can do the things you need to do. For example, you're taking a trip. You're like, okay, what do I need to do going on a trip? Self-manager says research. Where's the closest gym? Does the hotel have a gym? Where's the closest gym that I can get the same workout done? What is my schedule like? When would I put these workouts on my schedule? As far as nutrition, what restaurants are in the area and what's on their menu so that I can eat the way I'm used to eating without stress. So you're not finding yourself, I get there, I'm hungry, I'm in the hotel bar with nothing good, no good choices. Okay, you don't want that. So self-manager will tell you, plan ahead. Find yourself a good hotel with a good gym. Find yourself a hotel around with restaurants that have food that will fit what you want to eat. That self-management, that pre-planning is something you should probably always have. And then, of course, once you identify as someone who does this, it just gets done.
So, Allan, I want to comment on something because I learned a long time ago that if I have a thought about something, then it's probably not unique to me because I don't think I'm all that unique. And that is, you said that extrinsic is relatively easy, easier than intrinsic.
Yeah.
And I understand your point behind that. But there might be some people, I'm just thinking, maybe somebody listening or watching who might think, taking that step to get a coach or taking that step to find and join some kind of a peer group, maybe that's not so easy for them. Maybe they lack the motivation or the confidence, or they have fear of what the experience might be like. Have you encountered that?
Yeah. Here's the magic, okay? Or not magic, or the pain, or whatever you want to think of, is change is hard. If change was easy, we'd all do it. We'd all do it whenever we wanted to. Okay. Now, the other aspect of this is, and if you really break this down, you think about this, when I say this, I really want you to think deep. Nothing beautiful has ever happened in your comfort zone.
Right.
Okay. You've never done anything great in your comfort zone. And so if you're afraid, good. That's a good sign. Okay. You're doing something better. You're doing something that scares you. That's perfect. That's exactly what that's not going to kill you. Hiring coach is not going to kill you. So I'm not saying, fear is always where you want to go. But in this case, this is not going to kill you. It's uncomfortable. It's scary, but it's doable.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk in a few minutes. I want to talk you through a process of knowing you're doing it right. So if we're uncomfortable, that's cool. We can do things to make sure that we're more comfortable. So we're just out of our comfort zone and not this crazy, I'm walking into this gym with all these meatheads throwing weights around and I don't know what to do.
Right.
I understand that's intimidating. That's scary. We can do some things to make this a little bit easier to do. So if you want to move forward, I'm going to walk you through each of these quadrants and ways to make them better. Okay. So we start with extrinsic accountability, and now we're looking at a leader coach. Now, a leader coach is an important person because they're going to be intimately involved in your life. Now, you can hire a personal trainer. It's just going to count reps and load plates, and you got to work out, and they're going to help you get stronger. That's totally cool if that's what you want. If you just want, okay, I want to just go, I want him to tell me what to do. I'm going to do it. Let him count the reps, help me load, and we're out. Okay, that's totally cool. And they will hold you accountable. You'll show up at that time, and you'll get that thing done. But if you're really looking for a coach that's going to change your life, then you want to look for someone you trust. So who is this person? What have they done? Who do they work with? What do they know? Are they going to be there? So find someone you can trust. And if you find someone, if you like the person, you trust them, then you can check that one off. Okay. The next one is, will this coach's approach work for you? Okay. There are some coaches out there that function very much like a drill sergeant. Mm-hmm. They want a yes, sir, no, sir. They want you to chop, chop, chop. If you're not someone who responds well to that kind of, hard authority, then their approach might actually turn you off and you might rebel. So is this a coach that's going to get you there because they understand you and get you? And I'll tell you, I work very well with drill sergeant style coaches. My coaches, I would be fine with that. If I'm trying to accomplish something and they're driving me a little harder than I might drive myself, I would probably be okay with that, but you may not. So will this coach's approach fit how you want to work? Okay. The next one is understanding, like I said earlier, is this someone who's going to be comprehensive in your health, or are they a piece of what you need? So when I was trying to do a Spartan, This was about 4 years after I did the first Tough Mudder. And this one I knew was going to be a little harder. I hired a strength coach so I could be even stronger than I was for the Tough Mudder for this particular race, given what was required of it. And I knew I was doing it by myself. So I knew that I had to, it was going to be harder. I just knew it was going to be a lot harder. So I hired a strength coach. All he did was help me get stronger. That was his sole focus, and that was what he was doing. So if you need a sole particular focus, which later on, when we're talking about, you're already there at self-efficacy, but I wanted to build more strength. I knew having accountability and a coach would push me a little harder. So what do you need? Do you need a comprehensive coach? Do you need to focus? Because you could build a whole team. You could hire a nutritionist. You can hire a coach to help you with your strength. You can hire another coach to help you with your running and endurance. And you can put a team together if that's how you want to do this. But you need to understand what you remember what your goals were, what your vision was. You need a coach that's going to help push you in that direction. And then, is this coach an educator? So a lot of coaches are by the hour. You show up, you lift, and you leave. Did you learn anything? Okay. I'm a big proponent of education, not for the sake of education, but you should know why you're doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So you can incorporate it in your life permanently versus just saying, okay, this is a temporary workout. I do it and then I'm done. And so are they an educator? Are they someone's going to help you understand why you're doing things the way you're doing them so that later on you do have the self-efficacy and capacity to self-manage and do these things. You can understand your workouts. You can write your own workout. You know what you need to do. A good educator coach will get you there and effectively will coach themselves out of a job in many cases, because now you know what to do. You've built the self-management and self-efficacy. You don't need the coach anymore. Okay. Will you like working with this coach? Okay. So when we're sitting around in the gym in between sets, I don't know anybody, I could do it, but I don't know many people that could just sit there in silence for 1 or 2 minutes when they're sitting there with someone else. There's going to be this propensity to want to talk, to fill that void. Okay. Most people are not comfortable in silence. So you're going to be having conversations with this person. Is this a person whose strong opinions of certain things are really going to bother you every time you go to the gym? And you're not even going to want to go there because it's like, look, I'm not voting for the guy you're voting for. Just shut your trap.
Well, really, more importantly, Allan, if the person is talking about themselves, and you're there to focus on improving yourself, and he or she is telling you stories about themselves and they kind of make it all about themselves, then that's not going to be a likable coach scenario.
Yeah. And so you want to find someone, again, you're going to spend a lot of time with them if you're going to be coaching for a period of time, months or maybe even years, a lot of conversations. It kind of needs to be somebody that you enjoy with. When I told you about my strength coach, okay, well, he knew I was a personal trainer. I had actually at one time accidentally coached him. He was doing squats and he was struggling. He had a trainer standing right behind him, spotting him, that didn't call him out on this. And he's struggling and he said something to her and she didn't, she's just puzzled. And I said, pull your hands closer together on the bar. It'll tighten your back and it'll connect your frame and you'll be much firm and you'll feel stronger and you'll be able to do it. He did what I said and he did it. So when I hired him as my strength coach, he's like, you already know how to do all this stuff, maybe better than I do. I'm like, yeah, that's not what I'm hiring you for. Hiring you to keep me accountable and keep me pushing. And then, spot me and do other things because I know you can do it. But in between sessions, we're sitting there talking about the geeky stuff of strength training and all this stuff, And so no one else on earth at that point in my life was someone I could just on a day-to-day basis be having those geeky conversations with outside of my podcast. And so that was great. I enjoyed them. We would be talking about something. He says, do you know anything? Do you know anything about this? I'm like, yeah, this is what I read. And this is an article. And I said, and I did a podcast on it. I'll send you a link when I get home. That kind of is like geeky. And so I had a lot of fun. I liked the guy. And I enjoyed the time with him. So that made it better. Okay. Right. And then the other one you want to look at is, will this coach actually hold you accountable? So a lot of times you share your goals and be careful of this. So you go in there, you know what you want. You've said, okay, I want to get stronger. I want to do this. And you go in and you start talking to a potential coach, and they're not even listening to you. They're not asking you any questions. They're saying, okay, so you want to sign up for how many sessions? And you're like, well, I don't know. It's like, well, okay, we're going to go ahead and sign you up for 10 sessions, and then we'll get you started on a program. And they turn to the file cabinet and they pull a program out of the filing cabinet. And they haven't asked you a question about what you want. Walk. Okay, just walk. Because that individual is not there to serve you. They want their hours, and they're selling you hours. You buying if you do, you buy the 10 hours. What you want is someone who understands. Okay, I do want to get stronger, but I also want to lose weight. Okay. And if they truly understand, they're truly listening to you, then they'll want to help you. And then you can say, here's my written goals. So give them these written goals. Remember, we gave you the SMART goals sheet last time. Give them those sheets, make copies and send it. Say, these are my goals, my fitness goals I want to accomplish working here with you. And then tell them, I want you to hold me accountable to this. Okay, that's the value of a written goal that someone's watching and monitoring. You're going to be much more successful at those goals. So a good leader coach, the accountability is all there. So if you answered yes to all of the questions here, and you know you can give them the goals and they're going to hold you accountable, then this is probably a good coach for you. Okay, so now we're going to move into groups and peers. Okay, now there are friends and family that you already have that could help hold you accountable. Okay. So when I decide I want to do something for my health and fitness, I always tell my wife, okay, I'm going to be doing this. Okay. And she's gotten used to it, because over the years, when we first met and things, she didn't know any of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be doing this for at least the next 6 weeks with my nutrition. So so you know. And now she's gotten used to it. She's like, okay. And then she starts clearing. She actually helps start clearing the way for me. Okay. So she'll plan dinners so that our dinners will fit what I've told her I want to do. Because she knows as soon as I come home and the dinner isn't doing what I need it to do, I will immediately stop and make my own dinner. Okay. She knows that. Now, it's fine. Sometimes we do make separate dinners, but she helps kind of clear the way. So we have modular meals where she's got some things she's going to eat that I'm not going to eat, and we're both okay with that. So people that will hold you accountable, the people that will support you when you're doing your goals. Now, you also probably have people in your life, friends and family, who will not help you and may in fact sabotage you. Now, some of these saboteurs are not intentional at all. Okay. You may come in and you tell your mother, look, she looks at you, she says, it looks like you've lost some weight. It's like, yeah. She's like, you're getting too skinny. It's like, Mom, I'm way overweight and I only lost 5 pounds. No, you're getting skinny. Let me go cook you something. Okay. That's okay. Probably if she's Italian for sure. But if they're doing that, they're doing that out of love, they're doing that because they're afraid and they want to take care of you. So there's not a bad intention, but there are also probably some people out there that would have bad intentions. So you tell everybody around there, like, I'm not going to do donuts. Do not ask me to do donuts. I'm not coming to the break room. When donuts are in the break room, I'm not in the break room. And invariably, you're going to have one of those folks that takes the time to wrap up a donut in a napkin and bring it to your desk. It says, oh, I didn't want you to miss the donuts.
But Allan, you can reach a point in your overall health and fitness life, because I've been there for a long time, where I'm going to shun that donut. I'm not tempted by it. There's no temptation. It's like, I know that does not align in any way, shape, or form with my health and fitness lifestyle, period.
Right.
Full stop.
Okay. But you're in a good place. We're talking from the starting. We don't always have those skills. Okay. So I'm going to tell you a story. Okay. I was close, but not so close, but I lived in Arkansas, worked for a company in South Arkansas. And there was a place there that it was a donut place called Spud Nuts. Okay. It was called Spud Nuts because the donuts were made with potato flour. Okay. Little known fact, the glycemic index, which is the amount of blood sugar raised that you get from foods, sugar is 100. So sugar raises your blood sugar 100%. Potatoes, white potatoes, will raise your blood sugar 105. So the glycemic index on potatoes is higher than sugar. And then they've now turned that into a flour and made donuts. So I think that's probably going to be the highest glycemic index food on the planet that's ever existed. And they're freaking delicious. Okay. Okay. So here's what would happen. Like, I'm really getting into this. I'm really wanting this. Okay. And so, I have to be very well self-managed at this point, because I'm teetering every day as I'm getting into taking care of myself right. And so I open up the elevator, and instantly you can smell it. And instantly you can see the people around the break room like sharks around chum. It's just this crazy scene of all these people just churning around, going into and out of the break room. And then, yes, someone's going to holler, hey, Allan, there's Spud Nuts. I'm like, I know there's Spud Nuts. I can smell them. I can see. Okay. So previously, I would have walked right into the break room, gotten some coffee, gotten one of the Spud Nuts, and went back to my office. I may have sat there and talked for a little while. So what I realized was I need my self-management. I need to do something else, because they are going to sabotage me if I let them. So it was go back to my office. So immediately get off the elevator, go straight to my office, grab a small bag of nuts that I already had pre-bagged in my desk. Okay, I'd have several of those in my desk. Grab those, go to the break room, fix my coffee, which is black, so it's pretty easy, and then sit there and eat a few nuts, talk to a few people, refill my coffee, and go back to my office. And then the rule for the rest of the day was, thou shalt not go into that break room, because they never finished all of them. There's always some in there, well into lunchtime. So I was like, thou shalt not go into that break room. So anytime, and because where the bathrooms are, I would have to walk by that break room. So I said, okay, I can't go to that bathroom, and I won't go to a break room to refill my coffee unless I'm on another floor. So I'd have to go to another floor to go to the bathroom. I have to go to another floor if I want to refill a coffee. And what I found was that added steps to my day that, but it was avoid. Yeah. So it was avoid the saboteurs. So I went off course there,
right.
But it was avoid the saboteurs, because they don't necessarily intend to, but there's things that are going to come up. The admin that has a candy jar on our desk. Okay. If you go there and stand there, you might end up grabbing a couple pieces of candy or more. So just realize, just don't. If you have something you need to talk to her about it, walk up and say something, and then go about your business.
To me, the moral to the story, Allan, is know where the saboteurs are. Yeah. Discover, if you don't know them, discover them, and then once you know them, then make sure you do what you need to do to avoid them.
Yeah. And that's the key here. So with the people that can help you, and then there's groups you can join. I mentioned ours earlier. But at the gym, spending time at the gym, and people wonder, is like, are you a gym rat? And it's like, no. But what I did know when I was younger was that the more time I spent at the gym, the less time I spent doing something that was unhealthy. So even when I wasn't working out and at the gym, I wasn't doing something unhealthy. Okay. So those were my friends. Those were the people I hung out with the most. Okay. And then, yes, if you've got these folks in your life that are holding you back, or worse, trying to really mess you up, sabotage you, try to figure out if there's ways you can eliminate or minimize the amount of time. So obviously, if your mother's always going to want to feed you because she sees that you've lost a little bit of weight, well, you can't eliminate spending time with your mother. But you can just tell her, I'm not going to eat it. I'm sorry if it upsets you, but I'm not going to eat it. So please don't make it. You got to work that relationship. You got to set expectations, and it's hard. It's hard, but when you do it, it works.
Yep. All right.
Okay. So now we're going to get into the self-efficacy, the intrinsic version of this, and we're going to start with self-management. Now, self-management starts from self-awareness. Okay. If you don't know who you are, you don't know how to manage yourself. So in working with literally at this point, thousands of people, and looking back at my own particular journey, I realized that there are traits, there's mindsets that we have, mindset types that most of us have that address how we do things, how we approach things. And then, of course, those same approaches are why we usually fail at health and fitness. Okay. So I came up with 5 of them, and I'm going to briefly go over all 5. But then I tell you what, let's go take the quiz. So go take the quiz. You can go ahead and pause this right now. Mm-hmm. Go take this quiz. It's a free quiz on my site. It's like I said, absolutely free. It will take you 60 seconds or less. And then it's going to give you an answer. So you go on in there and you fill out the quiz, you complete it. You don't have to watch the video because we're about to go into each of these so you'll understand what they are. And you'll understand then how to take that information of what's blocking you and turn it around so that it's a powerful tool for you to move forward. So go take the quiz, and then you can come right back.
And I took the quiz. So go ahead and take the quiz, and you'll catch this when you come back. But I took the quiz, and like you said, it was easy. It was quick. And Allan, I didn't watch the video because I knew you were going to explain it right here on on the podcast. So here we are.
All right, great. All right, so welcome back. You got your quiz results, and this is some good information. I know right now it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like, I'm a co-pilot, and I don't even know what that means. Okay, well, we're going to talk about each of these, okay? So a co-pilot is really kind of where I started out with my journey. I was married to my job. Okay. So a lot of times it's women, but sometimes men. Women, it's the family and everything else. There's so many obligations. There's so many reasons to be doing something else that we just don't have the energy and the time to focus on ourselves. And so we're constantly busy and just exhausted. And it's like, how am I supposed to get a workout in? How am I supposed to eat right? You know? And as a co-pilot, you feel like that's your obligation. And rightfully so. We do have to take care of the people around us. So the co-pilot does need to do these things. But the one thing that a co-pilot often misses is that the very people they're doing these things for are also on their team. They're people that can help them. So if your family is the reason why you don't have time to work out, your family is the one that you need to ask to help you. So an example would be this. So husband and wife, they've got the kids, and the wife says, hey, honey, would you give the kids the bath, get them dressed for bed while I go down in the gym and get my workout in? And then we'll both I'll come back up and we can do the bedtime story, tuck them in, and then we can have some time for ourselves. Conversely, he could tell her, hey, honey, in the morning, would you get the kids up, get them ready for school, get them fed, get them ready for school while I do my workout, and then I'll load them in the car and take them to school. So there's a symbiotic thing here that you have people around you. And I'll tell you an example from a client I had. She started with me, and then she said, okay, well, I've got this and I've got that, and then we're doing this. And okay. I said, you need to ask for help. Will your husband help you? Yes. I said, will your kids help you? She said, I don't know. I said, okay, ask. So she sat down with her why statement, which included each of them. And she shared her why and what she was doing and that she was working with me. And this was really important to her. And so she said, I'm going to need some time to do my workouts and I'm going to have to eat better. And her husband was like, we're on board. I'm in. Okay. We're going to make healthier meals. And we're going to do, and she said, we need to do some batch cooking on Sundays. And her daughter came up and said, you remember when you used to make those breakfast bowls? And she said, yeah. She said, those are healthy, aren't they? And she said, well, yeah. She said, how about you just make up a bunch of those like you did, put them in the freezer, and then we can cook our own breakfast in the morning. We just put it in the microwave and it's done. You see how beautiful that is? Mm-hmm. How your support system is actually a part of what you think is your problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I love the fact that she shared her why with her family and even shared the fact that she's working with you. So she admitted that she has an accountability coach in this who's at a minimum, well beyond accountability, also providing a lot of insight, but accountability nonetheless. And that was very, very wise of her to do that. And she got buy-in, and it's great. Yeah. Great story.
Well, her husband, of course, knew she was hiring a coach, but her children didn't necessarily understand or know what was going on there and why that this was this important to her. Okay. So I'm going to skip over on a little check sheet here. If you've checked off where you were. Oh, so after I was a co-pilot, I realized I actually became a windshield. Okay. So a windshield person is looking in the rear view mirror at who they were. Okay. So for me, I'm looking back at this tremendous athlete that I was before, what I was capable of before, but I wasn't that person anymore. I was in my 40s and I wasn't capable of doing what I was doing back then, but I couldn't wrap my head around that. I want that, right? I want that. Well, if you're looking in the rear view mirror, two things are happening. One, you don't know where you're sitting. You're not paying attention to where you are. And two, you're not looking where you should be going. So you're not going anywhere. So until you turn your head away from that windshield, start looking forward, you will not move forward. Now, for me, it was an athlete. You might equate yourself to being oversized, heavy, big boned, or whatever when you were a kid. I was a heavy kid. It's like, okay. So you're not always that same heavy kid. Okay. You're sitting where you're sitting and your future's in the windshield. So if you can turn and look out the windshield, you can change. So all it really is every time you start thinking about what was, brace yourself in your seat, realize where you are, grab the steering wheel and look out the windshield. That's where you're going. Okay, we set the plans. We've got the plans. We've got the goals. We've got all that going. We've worked on the accountability. We're moving forward. That's the past. We can't go back there. We can only go forward from here. And so a windshield person needs to do that. So for me, an example was this. I thought I was this great athlete thing. And I'm in my 40s. I don't know why I can't do this stuff. And I may have told this story before, but I bought the Shaun T Beachbody Insanity workout. And I said, okay, this will work. No equipment. I can do it in my hotel room. Perfect. I recorded all of them. I spent almost a whole day like ripping CDs. I'm that old. Ripping CDs onto an iPad. So technology. I took the old stuff and I put it on a new thing. And so now I've got this iPad. I'm like, okay, I'm taking this with me and I can do my workouts anywhere. So then I say, okay, well, it's Sunday and I don't have to leave out again until Tuesday. So I'm going to do the benchmark workout just to get started. Okay. I'm gung ho. So I go to do the benchmark workout. Now, Shaun T is awesome. He's very motivating in these videos. It's very encouraging. And he's like, give it all you got. Give it all you got. And I did. And the next morning, I felt like someone had spent the night beating me with a baseball bat. I literally could not get out of bed. And so I got to reach over for my phone. It hurt to reach for my phone on the nightstand to call off of work. because I knew there was no way I could make it into the office. So my windshield mindset, where I was looking in the rearview mirror, broke me.
Yeah.
And as a result, I didn't do a single one of those workouts. Not a single one. Spent that money, took the time to rip it onto my all good intentioned, and then poof, just didn't do it. And so once I figured that out from a windshield perspective, keep looking forward. Okay. Then I ran into tires. So a tires person needs traction. So much like you're driving up an icy hill, if you've lived in a cold climate and you've driven up an icy hill, what you know is if you've got traction, you don't slow down and you don't speed up. You just keep going because traction is good. You just keep. As soon as you hit the brake, you're going to lose that traction and you're going to slide down the hill and maybe even into the ditch. So what I realized as I was going along was since I couldn't get that traction. And so I was leaving stuff out of my bag and not being ready. And I'm like, okay, I got to fix this. And when I did, and I started getting traction and I started doing regular workouts, I got into it. I felt better. I felt driven. So a tires person just needs to do the things that keep them moving forward. Keep that traction. You're someone that loves streaks. You love doing the circles on your watch would be one example, or you love saying, okay, I've gone for a run every day this month, or I lifted weights 3 times a week for the last quarter or last year. You love those streaks. And so a tires person can set something up like that. It doesn't have to be technical and just be on your calendar. Just write something on your calendar each day that you do what you want to do. And seeing all those marks is going to want to keep you doing the next mark. So a tires person needs consistency, and consistency drives their behavior to be even more consistent. Okay. The other one I want to talk about is pedals. I was never really a pedals, but it's still fairly common. And a pedals person is someone who sees something cool and they want to try it. Okay. So you may say, well, that was the insanity workout. I'm like, no. What way pedals works is you see something that's cool and you start doing it, and maybe it works the first week and then you just don't see the same results the second week. And by the third week, you're like, man, this doesn't work. So you hit the brakes. And if you've ever been in the car trying to drive and you hit the gas and the brake and gas and the brake and gas and the brake and gas, you're not going anywhere. And it's upsetting your passengers because this is not fun. Okay. So when you find something that you want to do as a pedals person, you need to set a forward goal. I'm going to do this for at least 6 weeks, at least 8 weeks, at least long enough so that you're getting some results. So I know if I eat a lot more vegetables, my nutrition is going to be better. I'll lose weight. But if I start trying to eat vegetables and I'm not losing the weight after 3 weeks, it's easy to quit. But if you say, no, I'm going to eat this way for at least 6 weeks, I guarantee you'll start seeing more results. So every time you feel the tendency to hit the brake, stop yourself. It hasn't been 6 weeks. It hasn't been 6 weeks. Okay. And then you get to the end of the 6 weeks, you're seeing those results. You might not want to stop, but you still need to kind of say, okay, I'm going to do this for another 6 weeks and then not hit the brakes. Okay. And that'll get you going. Now, an atlas is the paper atlas, not the God carrying the planet. But the paper atlas we used to have when we were younger. They still actually sell them. You can get one on Amazon if you want. They don't sell them in stores, in gas stations and convenience stores anymore. I found that out one time when I stopped to try to buy one, and everybody looked at me like I was an alien from another planet. Okay, the paper atlases, though, when my parents would take a trip, and I've talked to people, a lot of people start nodding when I say this, is you take the paper atlas and you lay it out, and you're going to take the family trip, and you take the red felt marker and you draw the path of the trip. And so now you know every turn you need to take, and you know where you're going. So they've got a path, they've got a destination. And I know one of the reasons my parents did it is so that they could put the thing in the back and just say, You guys have it. And the reality was we could look on the map and realize we are nowhere near there. So there's no sense saying, are we there yet?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But that said, for an Atlas person to have a destination is a strong driver for performance. So you'll remember me saying, I signed up for a Tough Mudder. Why on earth would I do that at that point in my life? And that's because I had toppled these other mindset problems. I was no longer a co-pilot in the way that I was. I was much more independent, not codependent. I had dealt with my windshield problems. I was doing what I could with what I had, and I was getting results. I was no longer a tires person because I'd gotten consistent and I had built consistency and it felt good. And now I realized that without a solid, heavy, scary goal, I wasn't going to push myself as hard as I needed to change. So I signed up for the Tough Mudder to have this goal in for me, this destination that I was charging toward at that time in my life so that I would do it. So an Atlas will flounder if they don't have those goals. They'll go into the gym and they'll lift at it. They'll do the same runs they usually do and not push themselves. And then they're going to feel like it's all kind of meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So an Atlas is someone who can sit there and say, I need another goal in front of me. I like having something that I'm charging toward. And so that's an Atlas is someone. So I'm currently an Atlas. That's what I classify as. So I'll ask you, Bernie.
When I took the quiz, I'm also an Atlas, and it really resonated with me because I feel like I have stagnated in my workout routine. So, and I'm willing to admit that, here on the podcast for the world to hear. And, what I want to really comment on as it relates to these 5 attributes, or you call them mindset types, is the concept of self-awareness. You said earlier, you really can't do self-efficacy if you don't have self-awareness. And these 5 mindset types are really a gift, Allan. It really helps us understand and have that self-awareness of where we are now and where we can potentially go. So thank you for the gift.
No problem. And again, I've explained to you, I changed over a series of months, and I toppled one and I found another. And so if you topple one, don't think it's over. You might want to take the quiz again and find there's another one and maybe another one. I think some of these resonate with you. All of them at some point might have resonated with you. Like, okay. But you find your primary one, topple that one first. And then the rest of these you can catch and you'll figure out as you progress. Okay. So based on what we just described, before you go on, Bernie, based on what we just talked about though, in this square, I want you to start writing down some things that you need to do, some strategies or tactics, because again, this is self-management, that will make you more effective. So if you're a tires person, the question would then be, what do you need to measure consistency, to see results, to know you're moving forward? Driving through Colorado, I did that one time. It's a long, straight road. And the way it's set up when you're driving, you'd be driving really, really fast and almost feel like you're not moving at all because the road's so straight and the mountains don't seem to be moving at all. And you're like, I'm flying, but I'm not going anywhere until you start seeing those mile markers go by. And then you're like, okay, about less than a minute because I was driving over 60 miles an hour. But those mile markers, they're going by. It's like, okay, that's telling me I'm moving forward. So a tires person might need something like that to say, I know I'm moving forward because I can see those things moving forward, even if it doesn't seem like anything else around me is. If you're a co-pilot, you got to start talking to people and figuring out, how do I work this in? Help me be part of the solution. I told my boss, I'm going to be working out from 2 to 3. I'm going to mark it on my calendar. I'm out of office for lunch. Okay. Sometimes he'd forget and call me. I'd be in the middle of my workout. Okay. What you need? Where are you? I'm like, I'm at the gym. Okay. What do you need? It's like, he'd tell me, like, 4:00 work. He's like, yeah, okay, I'll have it to you at 4. And then I finish my workout. And so you're telling the people what you need. They're there. If you're an Atlas, it's setting the big goal. It's saying, okay, what's the next thing that's really going to keep me moving forward in a way that's appropriate to where I am and what I want to try to accomplish here. So if it's strength, you may say, okay, I'm going to do a special split here with my coach and say, look, I want to sprint and I want to do this and that so that I get to a certain level of strength before August or before September, before October, however you want to place it. Say, okay, I want to try to do this. And you ask them, okay, with their professional opinion, do they think that's something that will help you? Do they think that's something that's doable? Is it hard? Yes, it should be hard. Like I said, nothing beautiful happens outside your comfort zone. And Atlases prove that time and time again as they do beautiful things for themselves because they push themselves outside the comfort zone. Atlases actually happen to be a little bit more comfortable outside the comfort zone than sometimes they are inside. Because that's that fright, that scare, that push. Okay. And then the others is like the pedals. If you ever feel yourself pushing on the brake, ask yourself why. Stop yourself. Say, hey, foot off the brake. And let's keep charging because you promised you were going to do this for 6 weeks. And then of course, with the windshield, just knowing where you are and making sure you're focused forward, because if you don't, you keep looking backwards, you're sitting still. And that's not a good way to go.
Yeah.
So write down a few of what your thoughts are here as far as what your strategies and tactics need to be. And that's going to help you with this process.
Excellent. All right. Ready to move on to.
All right. Yeah. And again, there's a goal worksheet there. You can click on that link if you need to make a goal to implement the tactics. So remember, I told you I needed to print out my packing list for my gym bag. So if that's like a tactics, a strategy, something you need to do, then make a goal. Okay, over the weekend, I'm going to print out my packing list, laminate it, and put it in my gym bag. And then the next goal is starting on Monday, each day in the evening, or starting on Sunday night, each evening before work, pull out the list, pack the gym bag, put it by the door so I get it on the way out. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I have a confession for you, Bernie.
I think I know what it is, Allan, but that's okay.
Okay. I am not perfect. I am not perfect.
You're not?
I am
really?
Not. I am not. I am not perfect. Okay. I screw up all the time, but one of the things that's changed and something I want you to put into your tool chest here is the fact that, and we hear this a lot. If you're in tech industry, particularly, you hear failure is actually a win. Mm-hmm. Okay. If we fail at something, that just means we haven't figured out the right way to do it, but we figured out a wrong way to do it. Okay. So we're going to slip up. We're going to set rules for ourselves. We're going to set goals for ourselves. We're going to try to do things. And invariably, we're going to make a mistake. We're going to slip up. And a lot of people in their head, as soon as they slip up, that internal beast, the monster voice we have in our head that doesn't actually really like us all that much, is going to start talking and say, well, you fool, you always do this. You never do that. All the negative self-talk. Okay, well, we've got to get rid of that guy. As a self-manager, it's unfortunate we can't fire him, but we can quiet him down. And the way we quiet him down is a 3-step process that I call the slip to success process. And the way it works like this is when you find yourself making a mistake. So I get off the elevator, I'm walking towards my office, and unfortunately, yes, someone grabs me and I walk into the break room and I have a spud nut. I hate it, but I had it. Mm-hmm. And now I feel terrible. One, terrible because I haven't eaten sugar in a while. And so, yeah, now I actually physically feel terrible, but I feel terrible about myself. Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you slip up, the first step is to forgive yourself. It's to acknowledge I am not perfect. I'll never be perfect. And that's okay. I'm going to make mistakes. Because if you don't forgive yourself, you can't leave it behind. You left it with the beast, and the beast will hold it over you for a long, long time. So by forgiving yourself, you now give yourself permission to move forward. Mm-hmm. Okay. A lot of people will skip this. Don't. It's a very important part of this, because part of change is self-love. And so through self-love, we forgive the trespasses we have against ourselves.
Yeah.
I forgive the spud nut. Okay. It happened. I can't undo it. I did it. Now, the second part of this is where you sit down and you say, okay, what did I learn? Okay. I learned, do not stop. Do not pass go. Go straight to your office and grab that bag of nuts. Because if I have something in my hand and I'm eating, I'll feel more comfortable and I won't want to grab spud nut. That little tactic worked.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to eat nuts all day, so I couldn't go back to there. But for that particular thing, that slip, the tactic was go straight to your office, grab a bag of nuts, and then you can go get your coffee.
Yeah, I love the first part of it, forgive yourself, because you know what's really easy, Allan? What's really easy is to beat yourself up, right? To beat yourself up over the slip up, because we all do it. Like you said, your confession is the same confession as 100% of the human population. None of us is perfect. So that first step is everything, forgiving yourself, so that you can then get on to what did I learn from this?
Yeah. And then the second step is coming up with a tactic or strategy that you can apply in the future to either prevent this from ever happening or mitigate when it happens. And so for me, again, it was have the bag of nuts in my office. And because the other reason the bags of nuts were in there's other slips. Okay, there was a vending machine in the break room. So if I found myself hungry at 2:30 in the afternoon, 3 o'clock before, I'd go into the vending machine. So having a bag of nuts meant I had a healthy snack that could hold me out till dinner right there. Okay, so I had the bags of nuts already in my drawer from another slip up that I then took to success. And that's how that was keeping me out of the vending machine. And I used those same nuts then to get me past the spud nuts. Okay. Now the third part is doing it. Okay. Because it's easier said. Some things are easier said than done. Because again, you're walking off the elevator, you're hit by the smell, you see the chumming sharks. You got to do it. Okay. And the do it was, my office is 30 steps that way. Go. Don't think. So I'm in the elevator riding up. As soon as it opens, I smell it. I'm like, walk. You know, so what I do with my dog. My dog will bark or chase. He just kind of wants to chase other dogs, and I'll be walking him, and he'll see another dog, and I'm just like, walk, 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 walk. And he knows that that's like, okay, I got to put my head down and just keep walking, ignore that other dog as much as I don't want to. And so that was what it is, walk, 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 get to my office, grab those nuts, and then I'm welcome to go back to the snack room and fix myself a coffee. And so as you slip, forgive yourself, come up with an action that you believe will keep that from happening or at least mitigate it in the future, you know, and then you can deal with it. And then you got to put that into place, make it happen. And if you'll do that, every little slip makes you better. So every time you slip, if you're adding a control, if you're adding a process, you're adding a strategy or tactic, it becomes a part of just how you do things. I'm here. I am in Bocas. I have food in my office that's healthy snacks for me to have if I get hungry, because sometimes I work really long days. This is one of them. And I didn't really have time to go home for dinner. So I'm having a later dinner than I normally would. So I made sure in my office I had some boiled eggs as a snack this afternoon that would hold me over until dinner. So I'm not walking over to the restaurant next door and grabbing a quesadilla, which would not serve me. They're delicious, but would not serve me.
Right.
And so, this is a process. That's the self-management thing. And it's a process that you go over, and the self-awareness part, and then what to do when we make a mistake, because we will. And you put those things together, and you've now built a management process that is basically what Kaizen stands for, which is a Japanese word we used to use used it in manufacturing. I've also used it in other businesses, but it's basically called continuous improvement. It's a word, Japanese word. It means that, and you evaluate a process and you try to make it better. And then you evaluate it again and you try to make it better. And so in this crazy world of life that we're going through, you have this opportunity to continuously improve the processes that keep you healthy and keep you fit, and just keep building them better and better and better.
I can't help but say yes, and the and is taking it right back to self-awareness and the idea that this is who you become. You have a hard-boiled egg because you have become that person, not necessarily because it's a good thing. It's just that's who you are. So I can't help but take every one of these principles and take it there, Allan. Take it to that self-awareness, because once you have that self-awareness and you know who you are, then all of these principles just happen because that's who you are.
Yeah, and that's where it's all driving. So the point being is you can start with accountability. It's easy to start there. You can't start with identity. You just don't even try that yet.
Right.
Okay. And even self-management, I can tell you, unless you are intrinsically a very motivated person, it's really hard to start there without some level of accountability. Okay. It can happen, but it's much harder. So I'm saying, if you want to take the route that's most likely to be successful, start with accountability, either hire a coach, join a group, or both. And then as you get into it, this is the opportunity for you to start building your management team, building your management processes, putting all this together till it becomes a little easier and a little easier and a little easier. And then the accountability becomes a little less necessary, but it's still just good for you. And then, yes, over time, it's like I've been doing it so long, I built a habit, and I've been doing it so long, I can't even imagine not doing it. That's who I am. That's my values. Someone says, well, hey, let's run out and have some beer, drink a bunch of beers and go crazy. It's like, don't, like you said, when you're 24 years old, it's like your values change. You're like, that's not who I am. So your friends are like, come on, let's go have some beers. It's like, sorry, I'll go with you, but I'm not going to drink the beers. I like live music, so I'll hang out, but no, I'm not going to do the shots. My wife is, this whole thing is like, here where I live, it's not a party island. Tourists and people are retired, so this is kind of a party drinking island, and they're always ordering shots. It's like, let's get some shots. It's like, here's the shots. Allan, you want a shot? Nope. And everybody is beginning to understand Allan doesn't do shots. My wife has told them a dozen times. She's, like I said, she supports me now as that conversation. It's like, no, you're never going to get Allan to do a shot. You can ask him 1,000 times. The answer is the same. Because I know the only reason to drink a shot is to get the alcohol in your system really quickly so you can get drunk. And I don't want that for myself. Okay. So, as you go through this self-management, yes, it's automatically going to draw you down into identity, your values and your habits. So you can go to the next slide. We'll jump into that. Okay. So now you see, we're right back into the map here. And as you can see, okay, we've got the extrinsic and intrinsic. We've got the coach and the group. That's the best place to start, easiest place to start. Then you start your self-management. You start putting in the tactics and strategies that you believe will work for you. Some of them won't, some of them will. This is an experiment for you. You're your own person, you're an individual. And yes, I agree, Bernie. You are unique, I'm unique, and yes, you are unique. And so as you go through this process, there'll be things that work for you. And you'll be like, well, someone else says, well, this is what I do. And you're like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And you're like, No, I know people who have logged their food every day for over 10 years. Every meal they eat goes into MyFitnessPal.
Wow.
They've been doing it for 10 years.
It's who they are.
It is. It didn't work, but they log everything they eat. But it hasn't helped them lose all the weight because they haven't made any other changes.
Oh, well, that's a problem.
So it is, but that's not what MyFitnessPal tells them. It's like, if you keep eating like this, you'll weigh 30 pounds less in 6 weeks. And that's not how it works. So as you go through the self-management, things are going to work for you, and then they're not. And so as they're not working, you have to catch that and say, okay, look, I've been doing this and it's not working. Don't be afraid to toss it out, but replace it with something that will, or you believe will, and then work that. There are people that will try a particular diet that's extremely, hard to do, like vegan or keto. And there's valid reasons to do either one of those. And it might work great for you, and you might work out great long term. It might not. So don't be afraid to try something as the management, but then give it time. And then if it's not working, say, okay, I don't really like this. I tried to be pescador for a while, which is basically eating only vegetables, fruit, and fish, and nuts and stuff. I gained weight.
Really?
Eating that way. Well, what it was I was not getting enough volume food out of the vegetables. And of course, with fish, 5 ounce serving, I just wasn't getting enough. I was getting enough protein. I made sure I got enough protein, but I wasn't getting enough food. And so I ended up eating a lot more nuts and a lot more beans.
That's what I would have guessed. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And fruit. And so I was ending up actually eating more calories on that diet because I was always hungry.
Yeah.
Than if I were to eat a more balanced diet. And but that's me. That's me. Other people can do it and it works wonderful. And so just realize you are unique. And so self-management is that process of trial and error of doing these things to a point where then, okay, I know this works. And then, yes, if you did vegan and it worked for you and you start eating that way, there'll be a point where your values and your habits align around the fact that that's how you eat. And it isn't necessarily that your values are saying, well, I'm doing this for this emotional animal or doing it for these other reasons. It can just be, I feel good eating this way. So this is what I identify as food. So when I walk into a grocery store now and I see that 95% of it is this packaged stuff, my brain tells me that's not food. So for all intents and purposes, it could all just be diaper aisles. I'm not going to eat any of that. Okay. It could just all be diaper aisles, and I don't have to go down that aisle.
I'm with you on that, Allan. I'm with you.
I'll go to the right over here. There's some wonderful vegetables. I'll get some of those. I'll go around the corner. I might get some cheeses, maybe some yogurt or something. Then I'm going to come over to the meat counter and I'm going to load up. And if I go down an aisle, it's usually spices or canned tuna.
Olive oil. Got to get the olive oil.
Well, I tend to not do olive oil from grocery stores. That's just another thing. Okay. Me, my choice. Yeah. But the whole point is, yes, I have a cycle when I go into a grocery store. Everything in the middle is not food. Yeah. And I don't recognize it as food. And, yes, you can subside on it and it's wonderful if you love it, but it's not going to serve you in a health and fitness way.
That's right.
I just avoid it. So as you kind of go through this process, you're going to learn more about yourself. You're going to learn more about what works for you. And then you're going to be able to implement those, turn them into habits and values. And then motivation is just there. It's always on. Mm-hmm. It's never off, and you're never waiting for it, and it's never not there. So
that's exactly I can't say it any differently. It's the point that I've been making, and then you've been reeling me in, saying that's what you want to get to, right? That's the process that people want to get to, and so you and I are there for our own unique reasons and our own unique journeys. But that's what it's all about, Allan. Is that's who
Yeah.
you become. That's who you are.
Right. And so we're coming to the end of this workbook. And what I would say is this is you deserve to be healthy and fit. You do. You were put on this earth for a purpose, for a reason, and you need to be here for that reason. Okay. And so if you've done a really good job going through this and getting an understanding of who you are, why you need to do this, what it needs to look like, and then how you're going to get there through your goals and plans, and then put the tools in place to be fully motivated and engaged all the time, you will be healthy and fit. So I want you to take the time to do that. Bernie and I took the time to put this together for you as a tool, and you can go through it as many times as you need to get this all together.
Exactly. And I just want to thank you, Allan, for the time and your expertise that you shared here today. And in part one, it has been an amazing experience, not only for those that are listening and watching, but for myself personally, Allan. I truly, authentically, I mean when I say that this has been an amazing, informational, inspirational experience. And of course, we do want to highlight what's on screen here, that this is not medical advice. It's a tool, it's a resource. The individual who has participated in this, what we're calling an online workshop, should consult with a healthcare professional to get the advice that applies uniquely to each and every one of them. So, Allan, why don't we wrap up here with a little bit of a reintroduction of you and how people can connect with you and get more of Allan Misner, aka Coach Allan.
Yes, I live and love this stuff. I do it every day. I do have the podcast, 40 Plus Fitness Podcast. You can find that anywhere that you are listening to podcasts, listening to this podcast. And then you can go to 40plusfitness.com. That's my website, and everything's there as well.
Fantastic. And my story's a little bit different. I am not focused on health and fitness nearly as much as Allan vocationally. I'm focused on health and fitness for my own life, for my own well-being. I am a midlife coach and an advocate. I host the Midlife Fulfilled Podcast. And the way that I like to add value around this is to work with businesses, organizations, but a little more broadly, really focused on fulfillment in midlife. On my podcast, I talk about the 5 pillars of life, really at any age, but specifically in midlife. And those are, as you see on screen here, if you're watching on screen, health, fitness, career, relationships, and legacy. So again, I like to work with organizations to really deliver training and workshops around helping their employees become more fulfilled, to be more productive, and just enjoy themselves more. And really, on that note, I want to congratulate you, the listener, the watcher, if you're watching or listening. If you have been with us for both part 1 and part 2, you've already taken a huge, huge step in making an investment in yourself, in improving your own health and fitness. And so that alone warrants congratulations. Give yourself a pat on the back. Take this workbook and put it to use. Use it as a resource, really have an impact on your life. And Allan, I just invite you for any closing thought, and we'll wrap it up.
There's nothing to it but to do it. So get on out there and make it fun.
Fantastic. Well, let's go ahead and we'll wrap it here. Again, Allan, thank you so much for your time and your expertise. I've enjoyed every minute of it and look forward to continuing the conversation.